Hey, welcome back to Good Night Kisses. I'm your host, Kristen, and today is Monday Q&A day. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. I was super busy this weekend. I don't know what it was, but it was just like everything was this weekend. So it's good. It was fun. So welcome. If you're joining me live, love to have you. Love to see you. Tell me hello. If you're on the replay, be sure and write your question for next week and I will answer it. Good morning and welcome. I see people are starting to hop on. Going to answer a few questions from last week, kind of during this. Mainly they were about, actually some of them I won't because they were about the trip last weekend or the weekend previous on my mission trip. So I pretty much answered all those within about 3 broadcasts and I can tell you how to get to those if you're interested. And then let's see, so I answered those. There was just a couple of them, the questions that were on there, but I think I answered most of those. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. And then the other ones are about the Bernat Stitch Along, which I do have here today with me in front of me for this week. Yay! Just going to say hello to everybody as you're hopping on. It is great to see you. Tell me about your weekend. Did you spend it stitching along to something, or did you have fun plans and go to weddings and stuff? I know Joanne, who will be hopping on a little later, hopefully she went to a wedding this weekend, which is fun. She's one of my new admins for the Good Night Kisses Loom Knit and Craft Club. Good morning, Ellie. Good morning, Stephanie and Ada, Pam, Bridget, Crystal. Hey. And I am just excited to see you. Oh, Carol hopped on. Boy, she popped on before I could even see her. So, hey. Usually I see her log in before she starts commenting, so she got the jump on me today. So I went to, hey Lori, good morning. I see you. It is the clouds are opening up. It was a little bit dreary. I was about to say it's a little dreary, but I can actually see I have these upper windows and I can see some blue breaking through with some big fat clouds. So, yeah. So the weekend before, not this past weekend, but the weekend before I was on a mission trip and that was pretty draining. And you guys were so super encouraging. And I did, by the way, Carol cultivated those and, cultivated, is that the right word? Curated into playlists. Hey Carol, that's funny. I just saw you hop back on. Maybe you got bumped out and came back in. Anyway, Carol curated those, and there is a playlist. So if you don't know, there are playlists for every day of the week that I do broadcast, and now there is a new playlist for Pink Missions. And Pink Missions specifically had to do with a particular trip that I was on, but if I do more missions trips, I'll just add them in there. So that would be super easy to find. But if you ever want to find any old videos of mine, wow, I'm sorry, I'm having this weird glare. Let me just turn this off. Is that better? I know I'm always obsessed with lighting with you guys. It's never perfect, but hey, it was like giving me this weird glare. Anyway, if you go to the Good Night Kisses Facebook page, or you just click on the top of this post here and then go to videos on the left side, and then you'll see a bunch of playlists, one for each day of the week, which Monday is Q&A, Tuesday loom knitting, Wednesday is knitting and yarn, Thursday crochet, and Friday is social media for Crafters Day. And then there's now a Pink Mission one. So good morning. Good morning. I was telling everyone, Joanne, that you were at a wedding. So I hope you had a wonderful wedding. And I'm glad to see you home safe. So, good morning. Crystal, it's freezing rain there. Aw, it is a good day to knit or crochet, isn't it? Yeah, when it's nasty outside, just stay in. Just work on that. Stephanie, you're working on a vertical stripe double knit scarf this weekend. Oh, and that's a change for you? That sounds good. Yeah. Would love to see that. You guys, you're always welcome to post it to the Good Knit Kisses, the main page. Someone's recently been sending me like private message of what they're doing. I'm like, oh man, send it to the main page, and then I can like share it with everybody if you want me to. Yeah, I would love to do that. I would love to have more activity on there because I love sharing you guys' work. Because if you see, sometimes I share things from other pages because I think they're so cool. So if your stuff is there, I could totally share it. So anyway, oh good. I'm glad you had a good time. I saw that. Hey, good morning, Lisa. Quick good morning. Are you running out again? I'm early, Chris. I don't think I'm early. I think I'm on time. Carol says during broadcast to have a laptop and iPad working so you can jump and get links. Oh, well, look at you. See, Carol is a multitasker. Look, you check her out. So anyway, I am here. It is week 4 for the Bernat Stitch Along if you are following along. So that means clue 4 is up. So if you go on the Joanne's site, or if you can't remember where that is, the best place to go is on Facebook and type in Bernat Stitch Along or Mystery Stitch Along. I have to go look at that now. But if you just start typing Joanne and Bernat Stitch Along, I think that's what it is. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm having a brain block here. Anyway, so I have it. It came up last night. I started working on it. And I turned the light off. So I don't know if this lighting will be good. But this is what it does. It's a cable. And so you have this right here. This was the main stitch. This was the beginning side here. And then it is this cable. So this is on needles, the cable. So I'm following along with that. And so this is the side. And so basically what happens is you pick up the stitches. Yeah, you make the week 1, 2, and 3, bind off. And then it's like weaving all your tails and whatever. And then you start picking up the stitches along the side of the right side. And then you work your rows. And every right side row, you pick up stitches from the blanket. Basically, every other time you pick it up, you're picking up either 2 stitches from the blanket stitches that are worked in, or you're picking up 1 stitch. Because it has a knit 2 together or knit 3 together, because you grab 1 stitch from the edge stitching and next to the 1 or 2 on the side. So that's basically how it's done. And yeah, isn't that pretty? This cable edge, it looks nice and tight, and it looks pretty good. I think in a different Bernat yarn, I'd like to try it again with because when it comes to the edge and when it comes to the cable, I think it looks really nice. I don't like it as much here because it's like, I don't know, when I start pulling them together, it's a little loose, but it may block out. See how it's a little loose right here? Okay, but it imitates this. So it's not too bad. I think it looks pretty good. And I'm glad with my color choice. Now the color choice I use the same the same colors that they did, except for this week 4. And I'm really glad I did, because I don't really like the brown that's in the sample. I think the gray looks much better with it. What do you think? Let me see if I can pull this up. So I have to confess, I didn't sleep much. And I did a lot. So let me pull this up. So this is it right here. So when you finish, you bind off. Now it said on the, oh my gosh, on the wrong side, then you bind off by purling. So this is me binding off purling. And then when you come through, like, so you do the right side and then you do the left side. And so this is the start of the left. Okay. And then this is what it looks like with stitches. So when you pick up stitches on the side and you pull in the new yarn, and this cable needle holds it. So you pull it through the side stitches, the selvage edge, 2 of them. See, 2 stitches here, not 1, because otherwise you get giant holes. And see how nice and tight this is? You love the gray, Joanne? See how nice and tight this is? There's no holes. Now it has like a little bit of a bump in the back, and that's intentional. Okay, so this is where you're picking up the new color. Okay, and then it flips over kind of on itself. It like makes a little seam. And so this is what it looks like on the right side. And then this is what it looks like further down. So this big long cable needle that you used for knitting back and forth, you stop using that, except it becomes like a massive stitch marker. See? And so this is the end of the needle, and then this will slowly get longer and longer as you begin to work those stitches off. So this is just left nice and loose, and then it'll get woven in later. And so what happens is once this is done, so I have this edge and this edge together. This is one side. Yeah. And then after I do the right and left sides, then all the stitches get picked up again. So including this, so it gets picked up along here, and then you do it again. But there's some other directions, and I confess I haven't read that far. I just basically am like, okay, I'm just gonna plug through, and I'm gonna just do it. So I don't really have much advice other than read your directions carefully. And when you do the right side, the cable is, you use the cable needle and cable to the front. And when you do the left side, you put the cable needle to the back. And then it just basically reverses that. One tip, because I will be blogging about it and giving people their tips. But if you're just going to start, I would suggest getting these stitch markers. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the side so I can show you what I'm doing. So what I'm doing is, removing my extra tools here. So what I'm doing is I've got this coming along here, and when I'm not using it, so okay, this is my stitch marker. This is holding. I mean anyway, it's my stitch holder because it's a big long cable needle. I mean, circular needle, and then thank you, Chris. And then when I'm not using it, I just put my cable needle on the end. So you're using 2 DPN. Let me flip this camera. This is kind of hard to hold it up. Let me just flip it. I'll show you. It's so much easier. You guys like me showing you, don't you? You do. I know you do. You'll love it. You'll love it. Oh yes, I think it's gonna be nice and cuddly soft. It's cuddly soft, everyone. Look at everybody. It's fun and soft. I was using that voice of my daughter this weekend. It was hilarious. Okay, let me flip a Rooney. Hold on. All right. Let's see. Will this be too bright? Let's try this. Okay. All right. Hopefully I don't have a bunch of junk in the way. All right. So this is my stitch here. This is the main stitch here, and every 8 rows is the repeat. Okay, so if you see, I have these 3 stitch markers here, but I don't have anything down here. So as I travel along, and I complete one of my my rows, right after I complete a row 8 and I flip it to the right side, I stick this stitch marker through this purl bump, and then this one here, and then, oh, I was very tired when this last one last night. But I just stick it in this purl bump stitch here, okay? And so when I get to certain points, I know what row I'm at, because I'll go, okay, 2, 4, oh, and it was up here. I'm like, okay, so now I'm on a row 5 when I get to this point. And I'm like, okay, so I know I do this different change, because what happens is on the row 1, you knit 3 together to join these over here, and row 3, you knit 2 together, and row 5 you knit 3, and row 7 you knit 2. But on row 7 you cable. So does anybody want to see what you do? So this is, of course, after you've got it on here. And the way, by the way, when you pick up stitches, you have to pick it up with the 2 stitches on the end. And so you just kind of bring a loose, you kind of bring this loose piece in, and you just kind of pull your stitches through, and that's how you get it on there. And Yolanda shows that on her her video. But this is me. Let me get my directions here. I am on the left side here. So let's get this. I'm getting my directions sent up. Okay. So this is I'm going to do 1 repeat here. Okay. So right now I've got, sorry, I've got cables in the way. That's what I've got. Some drink. That's my coffee. Okay. So I knit 1, 2, and purl, And this is a row 1. All right. So this makes the selvage edge. This is the same way on all the right side rows. Okay. And then when I get over here, this is when it becomes the row 1 repeated. Now, most of it is I'm knitting 8. Most rows I'm knitting 8, except on row 7, and that's where I do the purl. That's where I do the cable row. So basically, once I get it down and I know I've got my rhythm, I knit 1 to the end. So I know I need to knit 8. So if you're new to doing this, you may have to like keep checking your stitch count just to make sure. But this last one, so you knit all the way until you have 1 left, and then I take that off and I slide it onto my my cable needle. I mean, not my cable, but my glorified stitch holder, which is basically a circular needle. Do you see that? And so I've put that all the way on this side. I'm not really doing anything with this DPN, the double pointed needle. And so on row 1, I'm going to knit 1, 2, 3 together. So it's a little tight. Of course, I'm a tight knitter, and I just knit these 3 together. Basically what it's doing is it's picking up 2 stitches from this blanket and picking up 1 stitch from this edge. And then it has this weird little bump here. What I do is I just kind of work it like that and tug on my yarn and get it to kind of even itself out before I move on. And then I just turn it around. You don't have to turn the whole blanket around because it's just this edge, right? And I put my yarn to the back, pick up my needle, and all the wrong side rows are done the exact same way. You just knit 1 stitch, and then you purl until you have 3 stitches left, and then you knit those. So you're knitting 4 stitches on there. You knit 1, purl 3 till the end, and then knit. So you're always, when you slip that stitch onto the other needle and then you knit the others together, you will have a stitch remaining, and then that gets that gets onto your I can't even talk. Anyway, it still evens you out. Oopsie. I just told y'all till 3 to the end, and then I didn't do it. If you need help, you could put on a stitch marker on, but I don't think it's really necessary. Most of the time I catch myself. Okay, so now I am going to knit these together. Knit these last 3. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to flip this around. Okay. And then I'm going to work my 3rd row. And the way I know it is because I've got my stitch marker here, right? And then I've got one of these purl bumps. So I know that's from the right side row. So this is, if I go 2, this is the right side row 2, because it's in sets. So like there's a 1, and then this is a 2. So I'm like going 2, 4, 6. So I know this is the 3rd. And so on my pattern, it basically says I'm going to work, I didn't say it like this, but I'm working the selvage edge, which is knit 2, purl 1 on the right side. And then I knit all the way until I have 1 left. Okay. And on a, because I did knit 3 together the last time I was on a front side or right side row, I knit 2 together. I don't even have to look at my pattern anymore because I have my little mantra going in my head, like, okay, every other one I knit 2 or I knit 3 together. Every other right side row. And it's one of those things you kind of just get in your head. Okay, so now I'm at the end of this right here. And so now you can slip it onto here like this, like that. Or a lot of times I just pick it up and move it over because it's not that big of a deal. So now it's all the way over on here, and you can take these 2 stitches here and knit them together. Okay? And then you work that up. Because when I knit them together, this does not go over here, it goes over here. And so you're not actually getting rid of a stitch over here, you're just joining with this, and it becomes joined up like this. Okay? So, now I just flip on to the wrong side row again. And move my working yarn to the back, and I just knit 1. Is this helpful for anybody? I'm not really doing anything until I get to row 7. Y'all ask me any questions. Oops. Just joining the end. Ada. Ada, you're working on this too, right? You're doing the Bernat stitch along. I got my extra yarn in a weird bag over here, so it's not pulling out. All right. And I knit to the end. Okay. And then that yarn gets flipped over that way, and I turn it. So see, I'm just doing this. Okay, it's just flipping back and forth. Okay, so now, again, if I had gotten lost, I just go, I look at where I've got my stitch marker, and then I say 2, 4. So now I'm on row 5, and row 5 knits 3 together because it's just like row 1. I'm not even looking at my directions right now. I just have this memorized because I've done it long enough now. It's just so repetitive. I watched Walking Dead again. I record it. Does anybody watch and record Walking Dead? So I watched Walking Dead again. I was able to watch it and do this after being upset the first time. I'm not going to give anything away if you haven't seen it, but not okay. Okay, so here's the edge. I'm back onto the same as row 1, which is where I knit 3 together. So I'm going to pick up this one, and this one, and it's kind of tight. Get that right in there. It's really tight. Not kind of, it is. And then again, pull it over, and it knits 3 together. Okay, so that is that one. And then I flip it over again. Put the yarn to the back. I suppose I could work this backwards when I was over there and then purl from that direction. Anyway, so you just knit that first stitch and then move on. Okay, so this next row is where we're going to cable. Y'all get to see me cable. We're purling. We're purling. We're walking. We're talking. We're knitting. We're chatting. We're drinking coffee. It's really interesting technique for an edging blanket. I love learning something new. This is new for you, Joanne? Picking up the stitches, what, 2 by 3, or I guess? It's a big cable. It's like super fat. It's a super fat cable. I mean, you could do a smaller one too. I mean, it's pretty big, you know, it's like very pillowy. And so you see how it's like really spread out. You can tell you're right on the edge of needing to do that, right? So see, it's really, really pillowy. Now, I mean, if they waited a few more inches before crossing it over, of course, it wouldn't have this like roped look to it. See, I mean, but it's pronounced. See how it's standing, how much it is. Okay, Susan says I'm crocheting along. All right, before I cable, I gotta get some more coffee. A cable and a coffee. All right, that's silly, right? Okay, so I've got my cable needle ready at the home. We're gonna work the first 3 stitches because that's still, you gotta still have to do the salvage edge, self edge. I want to say salvage. Salvage is not selfish. I can't talk. All right. Okay, so that's that. And then I need to put it back into the knit position. And so we're going to pick these up and put them to the back. This is a C4B. C4B, yeah? Did I say that right? This is how they've written it. They have written it, I'm sorry, C8B. Either way, when you see a 4 and 8, you always have to want to check, because sometimes the 8 refers to your working 8 stitches, the entire thing, and sometimes it refers to how many stitches are crossed. And so you always want to check on your pattern, because people do write the cables different. There's sort of some standards and then not. So you always want to check. Okay, so I hold it to the back like this. Okay, and I do nothing. And then I work these 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And of course, these are not very hard. Now, here's my tip. You have to keep this stitch ready to be slipped over here, and then you have to work these 4 stitches. But I mean, come on, this is really loose. And if you're in an area where it's precarious, like I kept like trying to work these, and then this would drop and it would go into my recliner and irritate the crap out of me. Excuse me. I would get so upset. So I go ahead and move this stitch over, and so I can put my DPN down and not deal with it. And then I take the cable needle, all right, and then I work my stitches from the cable needle. Now, when I was working in the front, on the other side, I had to put these in the front side, and I actually didn't use a cable needle. I used my DPN, and I knit from there. But the cable needle is easier to knit from on this. So I'm just going to pick it straight up. I don't think I can do the DPN from there. I think the cable needle works best, especially if you have to hold it to the back. So I knit the 1. It's really tight, and it doesn't matter about how big the stitch is from the cable needle. It matters that it gets onto the DPN, and then you slide it back so that it adjusts the gauge for you, so you get the right size of stitch. And then I go here. I mean, I'm sort of knitting from the tip. It's very tight. I am a tight knitter. Okay, and so now I'm done with it, and see how tight it is here? Okay, but then I have to remember I'm still in a row 7. I need to knit these 2 stitches together. So then I just go in here, work these stitches, all right, pull that off, adjust them. Okay, now we need to flip over and work that row 8. I'm going to work this to the back, pick up my other DPN, knit. So this row is going to be tight. I'm going to purl. And this is the same thing as all the other ones. Knit 1, purl 8, and then knit the last 3 stitches. But I just think of it as knit 1 and knit the last 4 in my brain. And I just kind of fill in the rest. I'm purling in between. And then I'll show you moving my stitch markers. Now, if you want to know later how many times you repeated this design, you can look at how many times it crosses, because that's where it is. And if they start to look inconsistent, then maybe you didn't cross it in enough time. Okay, so now that I've done my row 7 and 8, I know that this last purl bump stitch is the row 8. And so I've just got 3 of these, and I kind of just keep crawling them up. And so I slide that out, and then I slide this in here. And if I'm going to put this down, if you have those little holders, I would suggest you put them on here, like like your stitch markers. Stitch holders. You can either slide them in here and do this. This is a cheap way of doing it if you don't have any. If you haven't purchased any, like if this is your first project and you're limited on supplies, I kind of do this, and I hold on to the stitches a little bit. I even sometimes put my extra DPN like this, and that's one way that you can do it if you don't have the little stitch holders or stoppers for needle points. So that's what I do. So I hope that helped. And so that I just did one whole row repeat for you, or stitch pattern repeat. I can't even talk. It's Monday. Anyway. Pam says, I'm working on Special Baby Blanket. I really wish I'd made it wider. I've been trying to figure out how to make it wider. Yeah, you can totally try this. Yeah. You could just make a garter, like even if you didn't do a cable. I mean, you could do the cable, which would be really pretty. But yeah, you can do any kind of side edging that you want to do. If it's just a garter stitch and then you pick it up from the side. Do you know how to add on yarn and pick up the stitches? If you don't, I would suggest that you go ahead and go over and check out the pattern for, even if you're not working on this, if you want to see, Yolanda has a video. Really want to guide you guys over that way. I was just showing you how some of my tips, in case you're working on it and you're looking for my tips, because I still have to finish this before I write up the blog. And if you want to get started, that's why I want you to see some of the things that I would tell you. Go to the Bernat Stitch Along and you can click on the pattern and then the video and see how Yolanda adds those stitches in and picks them up along the side. And of course I can make my own video later, but I really want you to go see Yolanda's. And that's pretty much it. Joanne, what did you think about my tips? Did you like those? So this weekend I get, oops, I just bunked that. So I was really drained from the mission trip that last weekend. And then this past weekend, 2 days ago, I went to go see something else. It was a little draining, but it was also empowering. If you see some of my posts, if you follow me, my public posts on my profile, I got to go see my friend in this production called Slave Letters, and she's an actor, and she did an amazing job. And I really wish that it was like nationwide and worldwide, because it was really, really, really good. I learned a lot of new things, and anyway, it was good. It was eye-opening. Like, there were certain things that, there was a lot that I learned from it too. So anyway, they did a fantastic job. You have to see my write-up on it. It's kind of a multimedia production. It was really, really interesting. Let's see. Pam says, oh, yours is a chevron pattern, so you don't think adding on a garter stitch, garter edge would match? Yeah, the cable would look really nice. Yeah, and if you want like a finer cable, I mean, you could always cross 2/2 or 3/3, if you don't want it to like distract from that border, because it's a pretty predominant, one. So, what Stephanie says looks good and probably be easy to adapt that type of edge for the loom. Hint, hint. Yeah. Stephanie, actually, I don't think the crossing the 4/4 is kind of hard, and it's hard to stretch. I wouldn't recommend really doing it in this yarn on the loom, simply because I don't think the work will look as nice. I think you need a yarn that has more tensile stretchiness to it. Like when you pull on the yarn, like this yarn here, it has no ease really. I mean, if I pull on it too hard, it's going to pop and break. But you would want a yarn that has more, wow, how do I not have regular yarn? I have no, here, I'm looking for yarn that has a stretch to it. Well, okay, that's not a good example. Oh gosh, why does everything have to be out of reach? Okay, it's out of reach. Anyway, but if you pull on yarn, you don't want to pull too hard on something that's like, if it's like a roving type, then it can even break apart. But you want something that has a little bit of a spring to it, like something that's twisted, like a worsted weight. Like test the different worsted weights and kind of slightly pull on them and see how much spring back it has. Anyway, I would say that maybe doing a 2x2 or 3x3 crossing cable instead of 4 would be good. And I think I'm going to work on something like that. Yes. Ada says, watched your salsa live video. Was hoping to see you dance. I almost did. And then I thought, oh, this is kind of a special moment. I started to stand up, and then she had I went and took my daughter to this, we volunteer, once a week. Well, it's like 5 times in one weekend. But we volunteer, once a month, at our church in the video production area. Technical arts is what they call it, TA. And then they had a big party for us. They do like a big party every year. And this is the first time we got to go, because now it's been a year. And anyway, one of the things we got to do was salsa dance. And so anyway, so as I was about to get up, this little boy came over and asked her to dance. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to be selfish, because I actually wanted to learn how to salsa dance. And I was like, I'm going to sit back and film my daughter. So I did a live video on that. So Bridget says, any new loom projects coming soon? You know, Bridget, yes, I am going to, I'm actually going to do these stitches on the loom, but they're going to be separate. I'm not going to do them as a blanket, and I think I'm going to pick a different yarn, and I'll probably still do a Bernat yarn or something, but I don't want to add them in the same blanket together. I started thinking about this, and I was talking to a couple people about it, but I think showing you the stitches by themselves would be good, and you can create your own things from them. And let's see, you can create a whole blanket from them. The other thing is, I don't know that everybody will like this particular pattern all stitched up together. If you do, that's great. And you can always stitch the things together that I'm telling you, but I think it'll be more versatile if I just show the 3 different stitches, and then maybe we do some edging stuff together. Does that sound good? Do you like that? I haven't really done anything because I've been working on finishing up some of the crochet projects, making those, getting the videos edited, and then of course working on this stitch along. So once I'm done with the stitch along, it frees me up, and I'll be able to concentrate on some more Lumi goodies for you guys. So thank you for your graciousness in that. I appreciate, and anybody who watches or reads my blog for the stitch along, even if you're not knitting, be sure and check out the blog and kind of look at what I'm saying about things like the mantra and stuff like that, because you might find it interesting to how I think about projects, and maybe it'll help you on something, even if this is not particularly one you normally do. If you enjoy what you read, right now I've got the comments disabled. I need to fix that. But if you can have a little heart button at the bottom of every article, and if you enjoy what you love, just hit the little love button. So it would be so great. So anyway, I'm going to head out of here and start working on this so I can get to all those lovely Lumi goodies later. And y'all be sure and check out the blog when I get it. Hopefully I'll get it done. My goal is end of day tomorrow, but it might be Wednesday. Who knows? Let's see how fast I can go. So maybe recommend, if you got any Netflixy things that would be neat for me to watch and do this, be sure and comment below. So, thank you, Joanne. I appreciate it. Y'all have a great day. Be kind to one another, and we'll see you tomorrow on Loom Knitting Tuesday. Love you. Bye.